Hello and welcome to the 13th episode of the 34 Sports Podcast. My name is Nug, and today we're going to be talking about a little bit of all three sports, MLB, NFL, and NBA. Let's start with the MLB. It came to a less than surprising end to the year. Most people going in would have went for the Dodgers, but the Rays did put up a good fight. I think some minor coaching issues cost the Rays that last game. Well, not minor, major. Kevin Cash yanked Bryce Snell after he was having one of the best games that I had seen. I haven't watched much baseball, but from what everybody was talking about, I wasn't alone in saying that that was one of the great games of pitchers for a pitcher. Snell was had went through the rotation, the Dodgers rotation twice and was lined up to go through three when Kevin Cash pulled him. That was stupid. He put in Nick Anderson, who is not the best pitcher. He's had a horrible postseason record. I don't know what it is, but I know it's not even 500. He allowed two runs in that inning, and the Dodgers went down by one. It was a 1-0 score at that point. And Bryce Snell was a left-hander, which Mookie Betts does not like to hit against. And guess what? Mookie Betts came in, and I think he was one of those two runs that he scored on Nick Anderson. But the Rays got to really think. I don't. If I were Snell and I wasn't on a long-term contract, I would leave after something like that. That's not what you really want. I would be mad. He basically blew it. I'm not saying they would have won the chip, but they had a chance at it, and that move really cost them that game. I mean, they basically blew the game right there. But nevertheless, congratulations to the Dodgers. It was a great performance. They were really good all year. They didn't even have all their players. Price, the pitcher, didn't play. There was other people. I'm not 100% sure, but they did it. They got past. They didn't have to worry about guys like the Astros cheating them out of it this time. They did it. There's only one thing that really just destroyed the. It didn't. It was one thing that really just took the spotlight away from that, and that night was that they let Justin Turner back on the field after he had tested positive for COVID on his test. Now I don't know why that happened, but it shouldn't have happened. If there was even a chance that he had it, he should have been back in the dugout where he was after the seventh inning. He should not have come out. He should not have been jumping up and down with his teammates. That was very, very inconsiderate of him, and the Dodgers team, I mean, I get it's the end of the season, but somebody could possibly die out of it. You don't really want to take a chance out of that. Um, but I don't. I blame the Dodgers somewhat, but who I really blame is Rob Manfred. I said it back. I don't. I think it was four. I think podcast four. I talked about how I just think he is not cut out to be a commissioner. He just mismanages things left and right. Um, he's an idiot. I said it then and I'll say it now. Why is a positive test coming out in the seventh inning of a game? It should be done before. I don't get how Adam Silver can just come off everything clean in the NBA and just be good to go. Even like the tournament, the basketball tournament that I talked about was the first sporting event that came back from after COVID. But even they knew their test before the game. You should never have the testing come out mid-game. That is just dumb. I get that they like to play their back-to-backs in the MLB, but if they could not get the test quick enough, forget the back-to-backs. You're already out of the ordinary anyway playing 60 games. They could have spaced it out. I don't... Just really dumb. Really dumb. But yeah, congratulations, Dodgers. I just will see how everything stacks up next year. Hopefully the Tigers are doing better, but that's another conversation for another day. As always, I'd like to talk about a little bit of NBA movement. There's a couple of things that I've seen that have intrigued me that came up this week. One of the big things that it came out today, just today, we're recording on Friday. The NBA, if they start in the middle of January, could drop player salaries and only play 50 games, which I think is highly unlikely. I know players like LeBron and guys like that, not just LeBron, Davis, Danny Green, Rondo, and them don't want to play in December. But do they want less of a paycheck is a real question. And it's not because the owners are trying to, well, it is and it's not. It's, I mean, when the person you work for is losing money, they're not going to give you as many hours if you're working a regular job. So why, if they have to cut the season down, should they have to play the players the same? I don't see it. I get why they would have to cut it. I think they should start right on Christmas Day like they were talking, but it's too close. It's too close. No matter how long they wait this out, it's the virus is not going away. So I realize that they are fatigued, but with the way that they low manage all the time, they will be fine because they've already been preparing for this for years. If they've been doing their silly load management thing that they do, especially I like Kawhi, but he is one of the worst. He got a little more of a break though because he can't get Paul George to play. Big trade rumor that came out this week is the Celtics want to trade for Gobert, possibly. I mean, it's all rumors at this point, but I think Gobert would fit really well. He'd be like Tice with more offense, and that's why they like Tice is because he can set screens and be really defensive and get boards. And Gobert can definitely do that. Celtics, I don't know how Gobert would fit in the fast break, but I think it would be a good trade. They'd probably have to send Hayward back to Utah, which would be interesting. A little bit of an interesting homecoming. I wish Hayward had never left because with Mitchell and Hayward and Gobert, because they would have had the same 15th pick. Either way, I think no, he went 13. Or did Detroit? No, Detroit drafted Kennard 13, and then Mitchell went 14 to the Jazz. But that would have been great pairing together, but now they have to give up Gobert to get Hayward back again. I don't know. I'd want Hayward and Tice if I were them in a trade. But yeah, Gobert would definitely help them. I'm gonna do a full video on that. I can't say a day because last week I had issues with uploading with the rendering last week, but I think I've got it down pat now, and you should see a video out on my opinion on the Celtics' big issue. Another thing that came out is DeMar DeRozan being a hot topic for a sign and trade. I don't really like sign and trades a whole lot. If you let a guy go for nothing, you let a guy go for nothing. It's your own fault for not trading him earlier. I don't like this free agent sign and trade. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't get why DeRozan would do it either. He literally, well, I guess you kind of get, it's a weird thing, but if you lose, you lose. You shouldn't be able to get money back on somebody when they just straight up leave like DeRozan will in San Antonio. But Milwaukee and Brooklyn are top spots for them. DeRozan's kind of got the spotlight taken off him in San Antonio. San Antonio, when they're not winning, their gameplay doesn't really bring the media to watch them. And they were losing. They were mediocre this year, which is the first time that's happened. And well, they've been mediocre for the last 2-3 years, but that hasn't happened in 20 years before that. So it's a little bit depressing. My dad's a Spurs fan, so not good for him, but they had a good run of it. Same with the Pats in the NFL. We'll get into that in a minute, but yeah, but DeRozan would be good for Milwaukee. My Giannis video, I talked about that, how the Bucks need to make a move for somebody, and DeRozan could be that piece. A little more offense, can create his own shot. Middleton isn't that kind of guy. Middleton would be good as a third option, as a shooter. He can, I mean, when Middleton could quietly give you 25 a night when he's on. The problem is his inconsistencies over his career have hindered the team in a lot of ways. Actually started out in Detroit. Not going to get into that, but I am kind of salty that he's gone. that they never used him. I mean, he never really even he didn't get a shot. I think they traded him before he even played a minute. But that's what Detroit does sometimes. All right. Um, Kind of a controversial signing, at least for me. A lot of people are happy, but Mike D'Antoni got added to the Nets coaching staff. I hope that Steve Nash does not let him dictate too much. He's going to be an assistant. I hope that Nash does his own thing. And you got Amari there, so you know they're not going to kill the big. But I wish they would let D'Antoni go right off into the sunset and die under a palm tree, because I think he is one of the... He's lost in the analytics. It's not going to work. You need to just... It's too late, old man. Just be done. I know that might be a little bit harsh, but he's one of my least favorite coaches. One of my very least favorite coaches. Stan Van Gundy got hired in New Orleans, but I just don't get how some of these guys keep getting jobs. D'Antoni should be sent down the river and never coach again, but he got thrown a bone because he made Nash look good. Well, Nash was a good player, but he really helped that team look good in Phoenix. And I will be talking about the Nets. I'm going to do a video on them this week, too, about how I feel. And last piece of news for the NBA is Jeremy Lin is getting looked at by Golden State and Brooklyn. Could be interesting. I haven't seen much out of Jeremy Lin. Jeremy Lin's one of them guys that's kind of weird. He can play, but he's really just banked off of the 2 weeks of fame. It's just 2 weeks. He put in maximum effort, pushed all his cards in for 2 weeks, and it's paid off for him because he's gotten some nice contracts out of it. But yeah, I think he still could do something. He's not a Jimmer Fredette. He's not... He can do something in the league. He's definitely in a backup role, but we'll have to see how that works out. That's all the NBA moves for this week. We're gonna get into NFL power rankings. I decided to change it up a little bit this week. I've been doing the MVP. I'm gonna lay off that for a week or two, and I'm gonna do how I think this is a CBS Sports rankings, and I'm gonna tell you how I feel about the rankings. I mean, I at the top. They have the Steelers, but it's hard for me to put the Chiefs below anybody, because I know the Chiefs at any moment can just turn it on. They've been kind of mailing it in at times this year, especially when they lost to the Raiders. That was a really good game by the Raiders, but I don't think the Chiefs should have lost to anybody this year. They're just so they've got the team sewn up. They've got a really good defense. Well, their defense is good. It's not tops, but I think it's at least top 15, maybe borderline top 10 in the league. They got the Honey Badger. They got the Honey Badger out there. They got Chris Jones. They got a really good defense, and we all know what they can do on offense. You got just so many pieces. They just added Le'Veon Bell. They got Carlos Edwards-Helaire, the rookie running back out of LSU, done amazing this year. You got Kelsey. You've got Tyreek Hill, just a monster. And of course you got Pat Mahomes giving them the dimes. Every time he gets on the floor, he just knows what he's got to do. But the Steelers aren't far behind right now. They look really good. They kind of mailed it in. They definitely mailed it in against the Titans. Big Ben threw 3 picks because he just figured he could throw whatever he wants, and it came down to the end. And who knows if Gostkowski had not missed that kick at the end. I honestly screwed a lot of people out of some money there. But that's what you get when you bet. You play the odds. I think it was like -2.5, but they lost by 3. But the Steelers, they look very solid in the first half. Big Ben was just throwing the rock out there. Their defense is top tier. I'd say it's the best in the whole league, without a doubt. If I had to argue one defense, I would pick the Steelers defense to be the tops. But they are just looking good. They've got a big matchup with on this power rankings number 3 ranked Ravens this week. That's kind of an iffy matchup for me. I don't know how it's gonna go um, because the Ravens have been quietly. They've been doing okay. Lamar hasn't really been having too many highlight plays, but they've been playing well and they've been winning games. They're 5-1 right now. Steelers are the only unbeaten team in the league, and my prediction, I think they will, but it's up to both defenses are top tier. The Ravens just added in Ngakoue from the Vikings, which was a silly trade for the Vikings. They got him from Jacksonville. They traded a second round pick and they got back a third in this trade. So all they got was a third round pick out of it. They actually lost out, but they got a salary cap off. But the Ravens just added another piece to their defense. Steelers, like I said, defense is top tier, so that'll be pretty even there. I think what will be the deciding factor is whether Lamar Jackson can do his game and be able to throw the ball. Because I know Big Ben will most likely be able to throw the ball even with a little bit of pressure. But when Lamar gets some pressure on him, he can drop the dime every once in a while, but can he do it consistently? We have yet to see a full season into the playoffs of him doing consistently. This is going to be a big playoffs for them because if they just if they rolled snake eyes in the playoffs and go out in the first round, it's not going to be a good for them because the media is going to tear them apart. Um, but yeah, I got the Steelers in that game because I don't know about Lamar's ability to consistently throw the ball for the entirety of the game. You know, he can throw the ball, don't get me wrong, but for the entirety of the game, I still have questions on that. Um, Seahawks. I don't know who they play this week. Let me look real quick. Um, um, Seahawks play the Niners this week. That should be a win because the Niners are all busted up and they aren't even playing Jimmy G, which even if he was sucking, I would still go with him. But Shanahan's got to do what he's got to do. I mean, he's knows what he's doing. He knows how to blow them Super Bowl leads. So he should know what he's doing down there in San Fran. I mean, I know I've got some people that listen in San Fran. But the Seahawks may win this week. We'll have to see. Their defense is horrendous. Not as bad as the Cowboys, but pretty close. Um, but the difference between them and the Cowboys is, unfortunately, Derek got hurt, and Russell Wilson's just having that MVP season. And you got DK Metcalf running 22 miles an hour, 23 to catch a defender about 80 yards out. That was really insane this week. That's probably one of the most athletic things I've seen. He reminds me a lot of what I remember of Calvin Johnson on Detroit. I mean, I'm just taking that. I heard that this week. I watched a video on it. But I do see a lot of comparisons. He's just so athletic and he can catch about anything. And they got Lockett and Metcalf there, and Russell Wilson's gonna have a lot of fun time until he retires, throwing both of those guys. And they just no, they didn't get it. I think they traded for a defender. I'm not sure who it is, but they tried to boost up the defense a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, but the Titans. They are 7th on this list. I think they could be a little bit higher. They're being a little bit harsh on them. I don't know. All the teams that are above them are good teams, and they won last week, so I get that. But the Titans were literally once they got it going in the second half, basically were just a kick away from OT and possibly winning, especially with the way the Steelers defense was playing in that second half and just the way the offense was playing. They're just lazy in that second half. But the Titans, Derrick Henry is just, he does what he does. He got it going a little bit in that second half, and Tannehill's playing pretty good. So we'll have to see if they can keep that up. Well, if they can get it back rolling, they lost, but I mean they've got the Bengals to beat down on, and unfortunately for Joe Burrow, he'll probably get sacked 3 or 4 times this game, and the Titans will just steamroll them. Literally, Derrick Henry will roll through that front line. I mean, they got Geno Atkins, but he can't do it all himself. Um, that is, yeah, but I don't know how they have the Browns at 9. I think that's a little bit high, especially after losing OBJ. Unfortunately, the injury. If they hadn't thrown that pick, he wouldn't have got hurt, most likely. That's Baker Mayfield being an idiot and mediocre QB. Good backup is what it's looking like. I mean, it was against the Bengals. I don't get why. He's mediocre. They need a better QB. They need, I don't know what they need, but they need somebody different. He's not Johnny Manziel, but he is just like a step up from Johnny Manziel. They need somebody different. I expect the Browns to drop. I don't see them keeping it up. They're phony. They play good against bad teams, and they stay. Well, no, they get torched by the Steelers. It depends on the game. They can possibly stay in. So we'll have to see what they do. Rams at 10. I don't mind that. The Rams play the Dolphins this week. Could be interesting. It's going to be Tua's first start, but at the same time, you got to think Aaron Darnold's going to get to Tua not too bad. I mean, the line's not horrible on the Dolphins, but it's Aaron Darnold. So I hope he doesn't break Tua the first game. Dolphins are 3-3, and they're actually second in their division. They could get a possible wild card spot this year. That would be interesting. It would make the Miami fans. I know somebody I talked to on Xbox a lot is a Miami Dolphins fan, and they've had a lot of bad years, same as Detroit has, unfortunately. So, it would actually probably be nice for them to finally make it to the playoffs. Maybe get knocked out in the first round, just like Detroit always does when they make it there. But at least the Dolphins have had past success, unlike Detroit. The Cards at 11. I don't mind that. They had a really good comeback win against the Seahawks. Didn't lead for any point in the game, and then won it into regulation, into OT. They won it, but still have yet to see. I want to see another good game like that to really believe in the Cards long term. D-Hop has really helped. DeAndre Hopkins has helped a ton for that team with Kyler Murray being able to throw to somebody consistent. Not that Larry Fitzgerald's not consistent, but it kind of takes the heat off of him and gives him a little bit more room to work. That one thing I do disagree with on this list, I don't get how the Colts are so high. I'll talk about it in a minute because they play Detroit this week, but I don't know how the Colts are that high. They've been okay. They're 4-2, but they're kind of flaky for me. Another flaky team that plays two flaky teams play each other. The Bears and the Saints play this week. Bears are 5-2. They've been lucky. And Saints are 4-2. Bears got shut down last week by a punter. Punter put them at bad field position within the 10 and just on the 2 and different things. He was tearing them up. He could have been Defensive Player of the Year in his conference that week, but they don't give it to punters. But he did his work. The Bears, this is a fairly close one. I do think that the Bears defense will get on Drew Brees, and unfortunately for Drew Brees, age has caught up with him. He cannot throw deep anymore, which is unfortunate because Drew Brees is one of the great QBs to ever play the game. He's got the passing yards, he's got a ring, the great QB, but he's just lost a lot of his touch, and he's lost his arm. He can only throw 10, 15 yards maybe consistently. The Bears have a weak O-line, though. I will say that. The Saints' defense isn't horrible either. They'll get at Foles, But I think the defense of the Bears will keep the Saints down where they won't be able to do a ton. The big factor for that is actually the weather. It's going to be 20-mile-an-hour winds in Chicago, and they're an open bowl, and the Saints haven't played outside of a bowl this whole season. So I expect the Saints to lose that one for multiple factors, weather, Bears defense getting at Drew Brees. But that ought to be a good one. I think that's Sunday at 1. I don't know if I can watch that one, but I might tune in, just keep track of it. Surprising at number 16, we've got the Detroit Lions up 7 spots from last week according to the CBS rankings. The Lions had a heck of a game last week. I mean, given it's against the Falcons, but it was nice to see. This is my favorite part of the week. This is, of course, the Lions. Then I'm talking about the Lions, but they're 3-3 right now, same as the Dolphins. So the same goes for them. This game will show who they are. They play the Colts, who I said was kind of flaky. I didn't know how I felt about the Colts. We'll have to see. The Colts are weak at wide receiver and don't have the best corners. So I expect Kenny Golladay to have a very good game. And I hope Hockenstein has a good game too. But Stafford last game, one of the greatest comebacks I've seen him have. He just marched it down the floor. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. That was, of course, after Todd Gurley screwed up and didn't get down before he had a touchdown and created one of the weirdest pictures of foot that will go down in history as one of the weirdest pictures ever shot by NFL photographers, as the defending team was motioning as it was a touchdown when the offensive guy was laying on the ground. That's for the defensive team to be rooting for a touchdown, just beyond me. But after that, like I said, Stafford got the ball, took it right down, and then he gets out of the pocket just a hair, takes like 2 steps and drops a dime to Hockenstein in the end zone as he falls down catching the ball. Game over, no time left. Prater just finishes off with the kick, even though he did miss one earlier in the game. But Matt Prater's a really good kicker. I mean, he's not Dave Hansen, but they can't all be Dave Hansen. Dave Hansen's one of the best kickers in the game, and he enjoyed it in Detroit because he got to kick a lot. But yeah, that was a good one for the Lions. Good one for the Lions. I'm actually, as much as I want Patricia gone, I want him to just keep rolling. We should be able to beat the flaky Bears. I'm hoping wild card spot. But again, we played 2 weak teams in back-to-back weeks, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they do. Another team down the list that surprised me in the last couple weeks was the Washington football team. Almost said the word. Can't say that anymore. But the Washington football team, they really came out and dominated the Cowboys. The Cowboys, there is definitely an excuse for the Cowboys. Dak was their heart and soul from the looks of it. I did not realize there was that much correlation between Dak and their success, but I guess that is what is happening now with just the way that they've just fallen to pieces now without Dak there. And even the way Dalton just got obliterated by that late kind of sleazy hit. I would have suspended that guy 2 games just to make a point if I was Goodell. But he basically, I was surprised. From the looks of it, I thought he was out on the field and just out cold. But we'll have to see. But yeah, Washington's defense has been really good, and they've got a good young receiver. I forget his name, and I should know if I'm going to do this podcast, and I'll try to remember next week. but he has been doing good for them. It looks like getting rid of Haskins was the right idea for them. I think, yeah, they're 2-5 now, one game. Um, yeah, basically one game out of the top seed. The Eagles play the Cowboys this week, and it's not like Washington wants the Eagles to lose to the Cowboys, because if the Cowboys win, they go ahead of them. But I know Cowboys fans want the Eagles to lose and them to be number one. But I don't know how the Cowboys should feel, because do they want to, if they tank and got another, they don't need another wide receiver. They need defense is what they need, because they give up like 36, 39 points a game, which is a high issue. And then they just traded, I don't know who it was, to Detroit, one of their big linemen to Detroit, big D lineman to Detroit for a pick. So we'll see how that goes. They definitely need defense, so that is a big issue. If Dallas had the defense that Baltimore has with the offense that they have, if Dak was healthy, they'd be hard to beat them, because their offense is so good. But they need to pay Dak next year. That'll be a big game. I think it's Sunday night, Cowboys Eagles. Not sure if it's. Let me look. Is it at? It's at Philly. I can't tell either way. Unfortunately, I think without a, I think they're putting in the third string quarterback for the Cowboys. I can't trust him unless they should just run the ball down their throat, like with Zeke, like they do with Derrick Henry. But they're trying to stick in their own offense. Mike McCarthy doesn't know what he's doing. They should have hired somebody better, but maybe they can get him out of there and get somebody else in there in the off season. But the Eagles, I mean, they're just in better health and they seem more together. That I think I got to take the Eagles that game. Yeah, but it's it was. I hope Dak heals up and he gets back, because that Cowboys team needs him. Um, but that's gonna do it for the 34 spot. But that's gonna do it for the 34 Sports Podcast this week. I'm hoping to get at least 1 to 2 videos out this week on the YouTube channel. Go follow 34 Sports Talk on YouTube and on Instagram, if you're interested in that. And it also I let you know when I publish a podcast as well, if you listen consistently and want to know. I've done some polls on there too as of late. I did some on the draft, NBA draft. So yeah, thank everybody for listening. If you're on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're on the podcast platform, Spotify, Pandora, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're at, thank you for watching. And we'll be back next week with number 14. Thank you.